Welcome to Barnyard Language. We are Katie and Arlene, an Iowa sheep farmer and an Ontario dairy farmer, with 6 kids, 2 husbands, and a whole lot of chaos between us. So kick off your boots, reheat your coffee, and join us for some Barnyard Language, honest talk about running farms and raising families.
In case your kids haven't already learned all the swears from being in the barn, it might be a good idea to put on some headphones or turn down the volume. While many of our guests are professionals, they aren't your professionals. If you need personalized advice, consult your people. Thank you for joining us here again on the Barnyard Language podcast. So we're going to start like we usually do, where I ask Katie what's been going on the farm with the kids and how things are in Iowa. What's up, Katie?
Arlene, normally we record this on Thursday mornings, and this week we're doing it on Saturday night, which feels a little wild, like I'm spending my Saturday night with my friends, which is not something that normally happens in my rural life with 2 little kids, plus the fact that I'm old and lame and I like to stay home. I'll take full responsibility for that.
The reality is we're both home on a Saturday night and I'm already in my pajamas.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I'm still wearing jeans because I've been dealing with the kids. But yeah, it'll be jammies for me very shortly as well. We've gotten a lot of snow this week, which was... I guess maybe I should start checking the weather forecast and then it wouldn't be so surprising. Other exciting news? Not really anything. We're working on a proposal for some work with the State Historical Society for our barn, and your husband Instagram messaged me to show my husband something. So I messaged him back and pointed out that my husband is also on Instagram and that they can just go ahead and start their own podcast if they want to hang out, and they don't need to go through us.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Check.
What's happening in your world, Arlene?
The teenagers are doing exams. So that means for some people, it's very stressful. And for others, they are very confident and they think that it's no big deal and they will pass without studying. It just means the dynamic in the house is a little shifted. So there's, slightly different stress level. And quirk of COVID schooling is that my grade 12 has, last time she wrote an exam was in winter of grade 9. So they have canceled exams through COVID, through online school, all that kind of stuff. So she'll be hopefully going to university in the fall, and this is only the second time she's ever had to write exams, so that's weird. Which made me think of something, Katie. So as Canadians, we watch a lot of US shows. A lot of our media ends up being American, and anything related to high school always talks about the SATs, and I honestly don't even really understand what they are. So can you give me like the quick version of what the SATs are and what they mean?
When I was in high school, I feel real old saying this, they were a placement test for getting into college. There's the SATs and the ACTs, and I think one of them has an exam portion, but it's a standardized test that students take to prove that they've learned stuff in high school, but they've come under a lot of scrutiny in the last several years, as they should have, for being really quite discriminatory towards families that have enough money for expensive prep classes. I think so, but I think they're fading out. There's also a lot of racial and cultural bias in the tests, so I think a lot of places are stopping using them. But yeah, it's a stereotypical high school thing. Yeah. So which of your kids is more stressed by the exam thing?
Oh, the one who's in grade 12 and the marks actually mean something. So yeah, the one in grade 9 is pretty confident that he doesn't need to study for anything. So we're working on that. And then of course they threw in a snow day. So then that means that your exam schedule got bumped by a day. So then that just added to the stress of which exams are happening on which day. And then there were more days to study for some of the exams because it got pushed over the weekend. But sometimes you just want to get those tests out of the way and not have 2 more days of studying to get ready for them. So that was another whole thing.
Yeah.
And other than that, farm stuff goes on as usual. But we will go ahead and move into our interview for this week.
All right. I like it. I have to admit, I was a little bummed when I realized that you were not a dentist for goats. I was really excited that Arlene had found us a goat dentist.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm wanting to get with an equine dentist, like a horse dentist, and learn how to jump on board because you don't have to be, I think maybe a quick certification, but you don't have to go to school or anything to be a horse dentist. And I thought,
Huh.
how fun would that be to go around and just saw down horse teeth?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that's great. I'm sure the horse will like it.
You pry it open. I watched a lot of YouTube videos, but I think that would be a lot of
Is
fun.
that what you watch on YouTube? The horse teeth thing? See, I always sit there and watch them like cut their hooves and cattle hooves and
Good, you
pick
learned
out that pus and stuff. I couldn't do that. There's no way.
We just lost Arlene. I'll admit,
Oh.
I follow some hoof trimmers on YouTube or on
Crazy
Instagram.
stuff.
It's disgusting.
I know. You get in there and get
Like-
some nasty.
It's like Dr. Pimple Popper for farmers.
And then you hit something that's like metallic, like a nail or something they stepped on and they pull it out and you're like, oh my Lord.
We had that happen to a goat. One of our goats
Yeah.
stepped on a nail and we had to yank it out. And that was
It's even
I kinda wish
scary,
I-
just sorry, how tiny a pebble they'll pick up and it'll be enough to start a huge old abscess.
Yeah. I wish I went to vet school with my life, but that's neither here nor there now.
when you have livestock, you have a little veterinarian in you. You kind of
Yep.
have to
That's-
be.
Yeah, in a way, you're right. Yeah, first time we had to pull a baby goat, it was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
That was a nightmare. We
Oh
didn't
my
know that.
goodness.
And we were like new into it then. It was a nightmare, but we got her out and saved the mother. Of course, the baby passed, but
Yeah, I don't think I've pulled that hard for anything in my life. I thought, my God, I couldn't imagine how you have cows, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, both of us do.
I'm pulling a goat out. I can't imagine pulling a calf out. Shoot.
so
In
what kind of
some
cows do you-
ways,
Yeah.
sorry, I think in some ways cows are easier because you got more room to get your hands in there. Because we raise
Yeah.
sheep as well, and I've got big old hands. So that's why we had to have kids. So we have somebody with smaller hands to pull lambs. Arlene, before we get any further into it, should we actually start the show?
Today we're talking to Ariel Mooney-Wood and Ben Wood, who are joining us from West Virginia. So we start each of our interviews with the same question, and this is a way for you to introduce yourself to the listeners. And we ask, what are you growing? So this can cover crops and livestock, families, businesses, and lots of other stuff. Maybe I'll start with Ben. What are you
Right
guys
now,
growing?
I'm growing a lot of weeds. That's about it. And I'll tell you what,
Great,
I've
that's a
been
good
the
start.
worst year gardening I've ever had in my life. Ariel wanted to turn our farm into kind of a sanctuary for deer. That was the worst mistake we ever made. I think I've got about 16 head of deer out there in my meadow every evening, and they found my garden this year and they wiped it completely out. I planted over 100 tomato plants. And I got one tomato. That's how bad it was.
Yeah,
I had
we
electric fence
Whoa.
on it, and I thought I had it pretty much deer proof, but they proved me wrong. Those things can jump, I swear, 10 feet if they want to.
we had blood, sweat, and tears in those
Oh,
tomatoes
it's
too.
crazy. It was crazy.
So it was disappointing, but it's not because I'm having a deer sanctuary
It was.
here.
It was 100%.
It's because we expanded the garden, let's be honest, and our electric fence was bowing at the end more than ever before. So I blame that. But I don't like them to hunt on our homestead. But
But
that's
If you want vegetables,
That's
you
right.
got to make some
Venison
choices.
tastes me.
yeah, oh yeah, we would rather eat deer than goat for sure. But also we're heading into kidding season. So I'd say that we're growing our herd. Right about now we're breeding our buck to our does, and we usually like to expect kidding season around May, June. And we're also trying to work with website designers to grow our presence on the internet and social media a little bit, because we do want to become more of a business than a hobby. You only have 3 years to claim yourself as on taxes as a business before it becomes a hobby or whatnot. I don't know if I said that, but
We'll get to gist.
And you're also growing some
Oh,
non-goat
yes. We
kids,
have
I'm
3
guessing?
boys, 15, 11, and 10.
Oh boy.
And how many
Right now
goats
we
do you
have
guys
11. We just sold some going into winter. We're a little worried about this winter, and we're hoping to have a good kidding season.
The price of green.
What
we
breed are
have
you guys working with?
myotonics. We're a registered myotonic farm, the fainting goats, and we have Nigerians and a couple pygmies.
Sorry about that. I ran away a little bit.
Did you fly
have
away
you guys?
too?
Yeah. Have you guys found that pygmy goats more densely concentrated evil than bigger goats, or
Oh,
pain in the ass than bigger
yeah.
goats. It seems like they've got about 500 pounds worth of difficult packed into, I don't know, how much does a pygmy goat weigh? Not very much, but
No,
Right.
there are
We
smaller
had
ones.
we
they're
used to
dense
have one.
packed.
The last one we sold, she was the alpha of the whole herd, and I'm telling you, meaner than a junkyard dog.
Nice
And
to us.
nice to us, but she wasn't afraid to use her teeth to bite ears and anything else. She was very vicious. All the other ones pretty much feared her, and the people we sold her to, we warned them, and they're like, I talked to them there the other day, and they're like, "Boy, you weren't kidding. We got to kind of hold her back and keep her pinned up separate, feed her separate, because if we try to feed her with the other one, she said she won't let them eat and stuff like that." And even the Billy Goat kind of questions himself a little bit around her.
Not everybody can appreciate a strong woman. No, we used to have some goats here on our farm, and those pygmy goats, you'd find them all over the damn place. And like, I had a friend who had pygmy goats, and one of her goats managed to get through my car window and eat a bag of peanut butter cookies that was on the front seat. Just, I was always just going to build like a 12-foot fence straight down the middle with like chain link with razor wire and gun towers, and then not bother with the perimeter fence at all, because I said they'll just spend all day trying to figure out how to get over the big fence. They'll never notice that there's no perimeter fence.
Yeah,
Goats are the
yeah. The
worst.
couple we have now, we have trouble with them getting caught in the fence, so they'll have to get the stick of shame across the horns. But we're really trying to transition into polled myotonic goats. But I really are registered Nigerian. She's a registered milk goat. I want to keep her and try to get back to our original thought with milking more, but that takes time and effort. So we'll see how that goes.
We're wanting to hopefully grow into cattle too as well one of these days.
We'll be asking you guys questions
Yeah.
then. Yeah.
I told her I'm looking at it for the beef. She's looking at it for friends, but
Friends and food. Friends and food. I understand. I like
Hopefully.
burgers.
I can
You can be
Yeah.
friends until they
say
become
that seems
food,
kind of
right?
convenient.
They have a good life, and then
You have other friends and you end a relationship and it's just over, but you have a cow friend and you're not friends anymore, and then you can eat them. It's okay to me. Probably explains a lot about my friends. So are either of you from farming or ag backgrounds?
I am. I grew up here. She moved here where we live, or in my county where I'm from now, and it's so rural. I'm telling you, it's probably one of the smallest towns in America, no doubt. But I grew up gardening with my grandfather and stuff like that. And the livestock is a little bit new for me.
And the bees are
And
new.
the bees, I started the beekeeping, and my uncle kind of got me into that a few years back, and he was very old school and struggled a little bit my first couple years, but I'm getting better now by watching YouTube videos and stuff and reading books and all that stuff. But I'm coming along a little bit better. Hopefully, we'll find out this spring how well I'm doing actually.
With your bees. Yeah, for me, I was thrown into the farming scene around 10. My family's from West Virginia, but I lived in Colorado until I was about 10, and we moved back to West Virginia. And my mom, from a single parent home. It's just my mom and I. She was running a little farmhouse, and they had cattle and pigs, and we fed them. We slopped the pigs and we fed the cattle for the people we were renting from. And cows got out. I was helping them get back in. And I'll be honest, I hated everything about it. I was like, I'm getting out of West Virginia as soon as I can. This is crazy. And then you grow up and you see the real world, and you get the bigger picture of, wow, this is
That's
the life. This is what you need.
Exactly how I felt with the gardening situation. I used to hate it, every aspect of it, because I did it year in, year out. And now I'm same kind of situation. You wonder where your food is, what's in it, the chemicals they use, and all this stuff. So now we're doing it all ourselves, and we know what's there, and we try to do everything without pesticides and stuff like that. And that's great. We love it. We're doing it.
Ben likes to, every time we eat potatoes, every time we eat potatoes.
I tell the boys, I said, you're not eating those cancer potatoes that you get at the store. That's what I tell them every time. Because I remember
they're going to go to someone else's house. Are these cancer
Yes,
potatoes?
they will.
That's good though. I like for them to know that.
So I know that both of you have off the farm jobs as well. Can you tell us a bit about the jobs that you have away from the land, and how you're trying to balance those jobs and parenting and the farm and all the things that go into all those different
Yeah,
roles?
I'm a heavy equipment operator for a local gas company. I tell you, I go to work, I work there, but when I come home, I bust ass. That's just part of it. I'll tell you what, I don't mind going to work, but when I know all the real work comes as soon as I walk through that door, especially in the wintertime, it's pure misery at times whenever it's freezing cold outside and you got to go get the tractor and work. And it seems like something always breaks or you just always have problems in the winter. You're busting ice out of feeders and stuff like that, or it's just, we've really worked this year toward trying to make our winter life a lot more simple with our barns and stuff. We put electricity in them and got heated buckets and some heat lamps and stuff like that. So hopefully that'll help us a lot going into this winter. And same way with our chicken coop and stuff like that. We've got some heaters and stuff like that. But I'll tell you what, I got so sick and tired of busting ice last year. It was crazy.
Yeah, and you all know I'm a general dentist, and so I work in a rural clinic. It's part of a critical care access hospital. I'm actually the only dentist in the county. You may have seen that in some of my posts, but right now I'm it. It's been crazy for me. Luckily, it's a 40-hour-a-week job. I work those 40 hours and then I get to come home. But like Ben said, as soon as we come home, it's another job. But for us, I'd say the balance comes with routine. The boys are at an age where as soon as they get off the bus, they're coming home, they're starting with their chores with the animals. We're coming home, we're picking up the slack with the animals, checking everybody. I always like to kid and go down to the goats and say, all right, butthole checks, make sure nobody has diarrhea, check their FAMACHA score, check their eyelids, and check on everybody, make sure the barn is a little bit tidy. We scoop the chicken coop every single evening and then come in, try to get a little bit cleaned up before I go making everybody supper. But one night a week I work pretty late, and so it's usually our free-for-all where we're like, all right, tonight's pizza or something quick, or hopefully I've had something in the crock pot. But really the balance, it's not consistent, so you just have to put certain things off. And I'm sure you ladies know what I mean, like the laundry will pile up one week, or the house chores are dust and the house chores are piling up because you're outside working so much. And then I tell myself that's a winter job, and Ben will say, oh, we'll get to that, get that dust in the winter and we'll pick up the slack inside in the winter. But it's true, it's a balancing act where you put certain priorities above others.
Yeah, for sure. I can clean the bathroom in the
It's
winter.
not going anywhere.
It'll be good till then, right? Yeah, exactly. I've got 3 boys too, so that I know that doesn't really work out all that well. Has this changed? I know, like you said, the ages they're at now, the kids are starting to get helpful, but when they were little, how did things look then?
Oh, they've all been, since we started with the livestock anyway, they've all been old enough to help, because we've only been really raising the livestock since
Sure.
2015, 16. And they were smaller, and we also had
The
smaller herds.
young ones have really kicked up a lot compared to the oldest was pretty much doing a lot of
Yeah.
stuff with me and that.
But like I said, we also had a smaller herd at that time. Right. We started with just a couple and we grew.
Sure.
And our chickens, we really didn't get big into chickens. So about 2 years ago, we had them before then, but we got wiped out. Then we got our livestock guard dog and built a new coop. So the chicken chores have really only been implemented the past 2.5 years or so.
I feel like we're doing good whenever they tell me that they hate doing it, because I used to say the same thing when I was growing up. I hate doing the garden. I hate this and that. And now look at me. I'm trying to do the exact same thing again. So as long as they're hating it, I feel like they're doing all right, because they're probably going to do the same thing later.
And if they hate it, it means they're involved enough to have a real feeling
Right.
about it. Arlene, I just realized though, we didn't ask, what kind of chickens do you have?
We've got a mixed match. We've got Americano, Easter eggers, black copper Marans,
Salmon
Favrel, some white leg bar, and then mutts that we haven't really bought any.
Barnyard specials.
Yeah, we don't really buy any now. We just have been trying to hatch out from here on.
So how many birds did you start out with?
How many chickens?
Yeah, sorry.
I think we bought 40 and then we sold some.
We've had them a couple times, and Fox has been really
but
hard.
I mean, the last batch, I think we got around 40 and we sold some. Right. And right now I think we're at 21. So I think that's a good number for us. Ben's wanting more because we do actually sell our eggs. I don't want to say commercially, but for businesses, we sell our duck eggs and our chicken eggs, and we're, as you know, lay less right now. Our production for the coffee shop isn't as good as they'd like.
I just like to hear how people's chicken math is going, because it seems like our flock is on the downhill trend too, but we had, who was it started out with 6 birds and ended up with several thousand? I think we've had 2 guests on now that have gone now. Like, you guys are really kicking that chicken math up a little bit. So I guess we have a few dentistry based questions here too. Get our free medical care on this. So what made you want to be a dentist? Did you just dream of sticking your hands in people's mouths? And as a kid, were you just, it says here that it's like the highest stress occupation, or Arlene actually researched this, but I just want to know what sort of person is, just want to stick my hands in people's mouths and yank their teeth out.
No, you're absolutely right. It is high stress. And to be honest, I really didn't realize how stressful or how much pressure I would feel until I was in the thick of it just a few years ago, finding myself burnt out. But statistically, it is one of the careers with the highest suicide rate. I didn't look at those statistics going into this profession. I actually think I was in 8th grade when I decided I wanted to be a dentist. And at that time, I imagined it as a glamorous job. I remember I even wrote a paper, spa dentistry. You can get a massage and get your nails done while you're getting your teeth cleaned and you're relaxed, right? Maybe you're covered in a warm blanket and listening to barnyard language podcast. So
I'd sign up for that. My dentist doesn't offer
if my
those
dentist
services though.
like had their office out at a farm so I could have a heated blanket and play with a goat kid while they did my teeth, I'd be there like no problem. I feel like you guys are really underutilizing your opportunities here.
Yeah, there's actually an orthodontist office in this state that capitalizes on that. They have a farm experience there, and I love it.
Seems like a good way to bribe your kids into going to the dentist too.
Right?
Just kind of, yeah, I'm really grateful that there are dentists, don't get me wrong. It always interests me when people take jobs like that are just not, I don't know. It seems like a lot of folks want to go to medical school or be vets or whatever, but you don't hear a lot of folks being dentists, although 3 of my high school friends did, so who knows?
I look back and I don't know, I've met a lot of dentists and I've heard a lot of their answers, so I feel like my answer is a little cliche, but I guess I didn't have the best oral hygiene. I actually had really crooked teeth growing up, and I was made fun of it for when I was younger, and my senior year of high school. So in 8th grade, I remember thinking, we'll go back, man, I want to be a dentist. I don't want kids to go through what I'm going through. I wrote the paper. My senior year, I went to medical assisting. I became a certified medical assistant. And through that program, they let me go shadow dental assistants because I was interested in that field. Well, all the while, my senior year, I worked with a free clinic in my community called the Susan Duhoff Clinic. And there was a little old nun, just mean as tar, so mean, but she was like straightforward, like, Ariel, you need to get your life together, make sure that you make something of yourself. And I told her I really wanted braces. I'll work. What can I do to get braces? So I worked with her. She helped me pay for part of my braces, and she really pushed me to go to dental hygiene school. So my undergrad degree, I was actually a registered dental hygienist. The first 4 years of my education was all around dentistry. And again, at that time, I love teeth. I got a tattoo of a tooth on my body, right? Very passionate about the career that I chose. And then I worked for a year as a dental hygienist, went to dental school, still very passionate. Really, I hit a wall probably maybe about 2 years ago where I started just probably around COVID. I think every dentist could probably say, wow, it was like an enlightening time. I was blessed where I work to still have a paycheck. A lot of my colleagues in private practice, they had to shut down. It was very hard for them, but I still got to go and do telehealth visits and collect my paycheck. So I was lucky in that sense, but there's still a lot of pressure in the profession. And there's still, when you walk into a room and literally every single day, people don't listen to you. And then they tell you that they hate you. it gets really tough. Just today, I actually on Thursdays I work at our school-based health location, and I see kids all day long. I do exams and cleanings and sometimes some restorative work if they can't make it to the office. Every single kid, and this is not 100% of the kids I saw today had terrible oral hygiene.
I hadn't thought of that. The fact that so many people come in and are like, "Oh, I hate coming here." Like that over time it'd be like, because I don't mind the dentist myself, but I know like my mom grew up and had terrible teeth, and in the time of like terrible dentistry, like their dentist was didn't use drugs and was rough, and like she and all of her sisters have like dentist phobia because their dentist was so bad, but they lived in a rural area and that was the only option, and they didn't have much money. There weren't really, they probably had to cut corners there too, I'm guessing. Yeah.
As someone who also grew up in a rural area with a single parent and didn't have access to great dental care as a kid, and I will admit I'm really self-conscious about my teeth, and especially after having two kids back to back into morning sickness with that, my teeth have just gone to hell. How do we get back into having better teeth once they've already gone to hell? It seems like teeth are one of those things that I had no idea how much of a blessing having good teeth was until I didn't. And I don't even mind the dentist, but it's real hard to get motivated to go in knowing that you're going to get a bunch of work done. And I guess I don't even know what the options are for making your teeth look better after they're healthy.
Yeah, cosmetically, when you're to a certain point, you start talking about needing crowns or veneers if there's stains or areas that you don't like the way they look. But really, a lot of it is if you care, which it sounds like you do. So if you're going to put in the effort and you're going to take care of them, that's half the battle, is having someone who at home is going to do their job too, which flossing, you guys message me, we're going to floss when you get back. Flossing and brushing twice a day, and mostly diet. Diet is huge, being mindful of what you're putting in your body. And I think farmers, homesteaders, people with I guess I want to say the mentality that I feel like we share, understand that you have to be careful of what you're putting in your body. And that's why we grow our own food. Raw milk is a wonderful thing, and we need to get back to that. We need to get back to drinking raw milk and to having that veggie, fruit, meat diet. What gets us is the sugars, the refined carbs. Ben loves his biscuits, but you got to be
The
careful.
look on his face there is priceless.
Those carbs break down very quickly and cause cavities. But like I was saying, today was just a defeating day for me at the school, because 100% of the kids that I saw today, I usually have the kids, I start off the appointment, I have them brush their teeth as they would at home, and I watch them and I say, okay, brush, I'd like you to brush for at least 2 minutes, or how you would at home. Have them do that and sit in a chair. And every single kid, it was like 5 seconds. Done. Okay, I'm done. So I sit them down, I get the mirror out, I have them look and see where they're missing. I teach them the correct way to do it. And they just have zero care. And I'm like, listen, underneath all of this cheese you're leaving on your tooth is breaking down. Our teeth are the hardest substance in our body. And the sugar and the bacteria are having a party on your teeth right now and breaking down that strong enamel of yours. And they're going to form holes. They're going to have holes in your teeth. And you're so young. And I'll even try to use scare tactics with some of these older kids, because I'm like, how do I get through to them? The most upsetting today was an 18-year-old who 17, and he's getting ready to turn 18. And he said, when I turn 18, I'm never coming back. So don't worry about it. And I learned a new term today. Oh, it'll buff. Have you ladies heard this yet? It'll buff. And I said, what does that mean? It'll be okay. It'll buff. And I'm like, you have impacted third molars. You have 6 cavities. You have terrible hygiene. It won't buff. You're going to come to me when you're 30 swollen and want me to help you when you're in pain. So it can be very defeating. And I'm trying really to get into the schools, especially the grade schools, to work with kids and start getting them to understand and educate the importance of routine and hygiene. But that's probably the most defeating part of my job.
We got 3 boys. I feel that our 3 boys are pretty good actually on their hygiene. For one that's 15 and 11 and 10, they're doing pretty daggone good in my opinion.
That's because they live with me.
That's good though. At least we're enforcing that and getting them to
Right.
understand.
That's true. At that point that Ben said, a lot of parents, they'll be like, oh, I can't make them brush. I mean, I had a 14-year-old today with a huge snuff pouch. And I'm like, do your parents know that you're using smokeless tobacco? Yeah, they don't like it. Oh, okay, so they know you're using smokeless tobacco. They probably know you're not brushing your teeth and you're drinking Mountain Dew, but they do nothing. It's like parents need to start.
It's because the parents do the same thing probably.
Yeah, they need to knock it off and
Yeah.
slap some
At least
sense
care a
into
little bit more
them.
about their kids to try to do something like that to get them better educated instead of being.
That's exactly it. The key word here is education. And that's what I try to do with everybody is educate. From 3 to 103 is just educate.
I'll admit that my teeth are feeling grosser and grosser the longer we're on this
Yeah.
call. I'm really wishing I had brushed my teeth before we started
I think
this.
yeah, we're definitely going to go brush and floss
So
as soon as
I
we
will
get off of this
admit-
interview.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Arlene. I switched myself to a
ahead.
toothbrush that has an automatic shut-off timer, and I'm astounded at how much longer 2 minutes really is than you would anticipate. I don't know what Canada is like, Arlene, but what the fuck is the deal with dental care not being covered by medical insurance? Are your teeth not part of your body? This just blows my mind that dental care is not covered by medical insurance. Because I'll tell you, as someone who had an emergency root canal when it abscessed up into my sinuses, that sure as shit is a medical problem. And that's not
Get me started on politics.
only get you started on the corner that involves dental care. How's that?
Yeah. I will say, Katie, you said you don't know much about Canada, but they're talking about a national dental plan. But at this point, even though we have universal health care, it doesn't cover dentistry. So yeah, same thing. They're an integral part of your body. And I don't know at what point they decided that they didn't count, but even under universal health insurance, dentistry isn't covered. Yeah. As like we're farmers and don't have supplemental health insurance. Yeah. So we pay for dentistry out of pocket. And there's probably lots of people who just can't afford it. I'm sure that you see that all the time, Ariel. The people who do care and need the help can't always access the
Yeah, well,
services
that's one
that
thing
they
that
need.
I love about where I work is it's based off of income. Patients will pay as little as $25 per visit, and anything I get done within that visit is $25. So if I do a whole quadrant, a whole side of your mouth, all those fillings, $25. And even the $25 is tough for some people. So we do have different programs for payment plans. And even at the end of the year, they can submit to have whatever their bill is exonerated. So for me, that's huge, especially coming from a heart of service is in private practice. I've talked to Ben before. I feel that I'd be a poor dentist because I feel for people. Katie, like you said, I came from a single parent home, lower income. My heart is helping people of lower income. And that's why I love the position I'm in. There's a lot of challenges not being necessarily my own boss, but I really am able to help people here through grant funding and through our sliding scale fee.
So I'm going to go ahead and just have a little therapy session here. Sorry, Arlene. As someone who, grew up just as a kid, it was okay, but getting older and not having any insurance, just going to whatever dentist I could whenever I could make it happen. And now being in the position of having good insurance, but having had a run-in with a judgy dentist. How do we get past that? Because I'll admit I'm really putting off my next appointment because I just don't want to hear about it. And
Find a new one. You're not at the right one.
It's the problem with rural areas. We have 2 dentist offices, but it's
Have you tried the other one?
gonna have to.
Yeah. I try to be for everybody, but even for me, I know that I'm not necessarily for everybody. I'm somebody who over explains everything. If you come into my operatory, I'm probably going to be showing you x-rays. You may not understand them, but I'm going to try to make you understand them. I'm going to be telling you every treatment from do nothing all the way up to sell a kidney. And that's not for everybody. And I've been told by some people, I don't want to hear that. Just do what you got to do. You're the doctor, just do it. That I may be the one who helps with the decision-making process, but ultimately it's your decision. I give you all of the tools and all of the information to be informed and to decide your own treatment option. Now, will I try to guide you in what I think may be the best option? Yes. But one of my favorite things to say in the office is, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if this is going to work. This is just what I recommend, and this is what I can do to help you afford it. So I would say if you're not feeling heard, if you're not feeling comfortable, and I know you're in a rural area, but maybe give the other guy a try, or even put your foot down with he or she and say, listen, I'm coming in here and I'm feeling a little judged. Like, I'm uncomfortable. Just say it. Because that's what I'd want you to do with me. If I ever made anybody feel uncomfortable, I want them to say, Ariel, I'm sorry, but you made me feel uncomfortable today.
I would not do that if I was her. I would not.
What? Tell me that?
That's like sending food back at the daggone restaurant.
No,
You know
that
what
is
you're
not
getting
true.
back. I'm telling you what, you're able to get. It's hard to tell what you're getting in teeth.
But hopefully, if they spit in my mouth the way they'd spit in my food, I'm going to notice that one.
That's
Tell
exactly
you what,
right.
though,
I would definitely go somewhere else. I wouldn't
Oh,
even
shoot.
tell you.
That is not true with me.
Arlene,
Oh,
if you need me, I'm going to be going to West Virginia to have Ariel work on my teeth. This is probably
well,
more
listen.
cost effective.
Yeah, you want to come down, do a farm stay. Our sliding scale fee is, it doesn't matter if you're in West Virginia, Alaska, or anything. Learned this within the last couple years. Whatever your income sliding fee is, we accept everybody. The problem is right now, as you can imagine, I'm the only one. So I'm booking way out, and I have a cap on new patients right now. Unfortunately, I'm trying to keep it local for new patients until I can find some help. There used to be 3 dentists here, and one went to work in the federal prison and one went to open up a denture shop. And for the past 2 years, more or less, it's just been me. It's been tough.
Arlene, I'm going to add one more question. As someone who's also dealing with a small town doctor who's in the same position, how do you deal with the stress and the pressure of knowing that if you're working your 40 hours, there's probably folks that aren't getting seen, but also you can't work 90 hours a week to not end up with other serious problems. So it's,
Yeah, so a lot of it is trying to triage patients, put them in a priority. And I'll be honest, I've had a couple newer patients that I've had that have had mouthful of decay that I'm telling them that, hey, I don't want to send you somewhere else, but if I don't start seeing you like tomorrow, we're going to be in trouble. So I try to find them another dental home that is affordable. We do have a dental office about 25 minutes from here in one direction and 30 minutes in another direction. So that's not terrible. And then as rural as we are, it's about an hour and a half to anything. So if we want to go to Sam's Club or to the city, it's about an hour and a half. And that's where everybody goes for everything. So if I have to refer out to an oral surgeon, for example, for patients to be sedated, they already know, hey, I'm going to have to go an hour and a half. So it's not a big sticker shock for people to try to get them their foot in the door somewhere else.
So for those of us who might have kids who are nervous about going to the dentist, whether that's the first time or maybe their first or second time didn't go all that when they've gotten into that cycle of being nervous about going to the dentist, do you have any tips for how to help our little people get used to it and be comfortable so that you can do your job and that they can have a good experience too?
With kids, I don't want to blame the parents, but I'd say a lot of it does fall back on the parent. Kids, they really often get nervous because of how their parents act or react for the experience. One of the best tips that I have is to start bringing your kids in every 6 months as soon as their first tooth pops in. And some people might say, oh, that's overkill. They're not going to get a cavity on that lower tooth. But a lot of it is that routine of bringing them into the office and letting someone stick their fingers in their mouth and put a little toothbrush in there and just get them used to that appointment and have them realize that we're not going to be causing pain and we're going to have fun. As far as getting them in there too, then you're able to talk to the parent at that age. As soon as those teeth pop in, you're able to talk cavity prevention, you're able to talk diet and educate the parent. So a kid that might come in that's already nervous, maybe they're 5 or 6, for me, I really try to build trust with them, and I try to make the appointments short. I try to talk to them about every little thing I'm doing. I let them touch things. I show them on my finger what I'm doing, and I just talk them through the whole appointment. To be honest, I think I have most of the kids in the county convinced that I'm a mermaid tooth fairy. Most of them are pretty excited to come see me and get stickers and prizes. But there is that small group of kids too that I do have to send off to pediatric dentists because I don't have sedation and I don't have nitrous here to make some of those antsy kids a little bit more comfortable. And I hate sending them off, but I'm someone that I don't want to make the dental experience a bad experience ever. I'm not going to hold them down. I'm not going to scare them. The minute they start feeling terrified or uncomfortable, we're going to slow down. We're going to back up. And because that's just me. I've met dentists, I've shadowed dentists that they see, okay, we got to papoose and we got to hold them down. We got to do our job right now. I'm on the other spectrum. Okay, we're going to paint. I don't know how you ladies feel about fluoride, but I'm not a huge fluoride fan, but we do use a lot of what's called silver diamine fluoride in our office, and it stains the tooth kind of dark. It's really an older treatment, and it's become more new age, but I'm like the Oprah Winfrey of that with kids because it buys us so much time with cavities. I can apply that on their teeth, a little bit of paint, it'll stain it, make it look ugly, but that'll buy us all the time in the world we need to get that kid used to me and used to the office. So hopefully I can do treatment for them.
I will say my kids are 4 and 5, so they're quite a bit younger than most of Arlene's kids. We're incredibly lucky to have a great pediatric dentist office in town, and we did start the minute that first tooth came through.
Good.
Our daughter was 10 months old, and yeah, it does feel ridiculous to take them to the dentist when they've got like a 1/16 of an inch of one tooth. I will say the biggest thing we did is we look for tooth monkeys, so they got to open their mouth real wide, and I have been known to wear a headlamp to investigate for tooth monkeys, and we look for ear monkeys too, but it does help for getting them to sit still. So how do we help adults who don't like the dentist?
So adults, part of me wants to say, suck it up, buttercup, but that's not me either. But really, at the same time, same thing I mentioned for kids. Adults aren't much different as far as slowing down, building trust, educating. Like I told you earlier, I'll show x-rays, I'll explain things probably in more detail than what most want to hear, and try to build trust by giving detailed treatment options. Again, I don't have the sedation option, but we could work with the primary care physician to see if anxiety medication might be an option to where they could take like a Xanax, Ativan for the appointment if necessary. It's important to make those appointments short, easy, and as painless as possible. As painless as possible, especially the first few, so I get them used to me. But that's usually what works in my favor. Short, painless, and Ativan if necessary.
I just don't get it because I know I worked with a guy who's like, if I got a tooth that's bothering me, so I'll just have somebody just tell them to pull it out, just get rid of it. And we're like, if you want to enjoy a good juicy steak or something like that, and you can't even chew the dang on thing up. And I said, well, I suppose I can chew it up and we can baby bird it, feed it to you that way.
Well, that's one thing here you'll find
Everybody just wants to pull it.
Yeah, and they'll pull them themselves. I can't tell you, I've had men come in the office, women come in the office. Oh, I've pulled my own teeth before. I couldn't get this one out. I need your help getting this one out. And that's a real thing in rural America. People are doing DIY dentistry. I've seen JB welded dentures trying to be relined in their dentures. I've seen people fill in their own cavities. And part of me understands because we're DIY people ourselves here on the farm, and money is important, especially when it's tight. But I always, again, when they walk through my door, I try to educate them on that. And the crazy part is a lot of these people, I'm the first type of doctor they ever see. I can't tell you how many people I've seen in this county. They've never seen a doctor a day in their life. And I go, they want me to pull a tooth because they couldn't get it out themselves. This happens all the time. And I'll take their blood pressure and it'll be through the roof. And I'm like, sorry, you're going to stroke out. No, your blood pressure, I want you to go over to the ER right now because your blood pressure is so high. I can't pull a tooth on you. And it's one of those things where I have to say, okay, do I go ahead and pull his tooth and risk him having an issue because he's probably going to walk out and never come back because I'm going to make him mad. But that's another luxury of where I work is the hospital is right there. So if I have to call a code or if I have a medical emergency, I do have ER staff and they life flight people out from here on a regular basis, sadly.
I think we now have a good idea of why being a dentist is so stressful. Everybody hates you and most of them are trying to die in your office. Sounds great.
But you get to come home to the animals and that helps.
Yeah, the animals are huge. And that's what
That's
was
therapy.
a big turning point in me being so burnt out. I was bringing it all home for the longest time. And I'd come home and I'd be like, I need a glass of wine. I'd be so upset and I'd bring it home. And once we started really getting more into the chickens and the ducks and the goats and the guineas and all the livestock and everything, I'd come home and I'd just go to the barn and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to
Talking to your goats.
talk to my goats, feed my goats. And it's just it takes off so much stress. I recommend anybody, even if you're in a city and you can have 2 chickens, get you a couple, get you a rabbit. I don't know.
And Lolly, our therapy dog.
Your therapy dog.
That's my dog, of course. And
Yeah, there's something about being around animals, isn't there? About, putting you a little bit outside of yourself too. So one last hard-hitting dental question. The tooth fairy. What's your approach?
Yes.
Do you do the tooth fairy?
But I think I mentioned earlier, so I am the tooth fairy, right? I have a lot of the kids believe I'm the tooth fairy.
Yes.
I went and did a presentation at a preschool one time and I wore some shoes where they could see the tooth on my foot and I was dressed as a tooth fairy and she said, I know you're the real tooth fairy because you have that tooth on your foot. So you have to be the real tooth fairy. And I said, yep, but we do the tooth fairy. I feel they know it's me because I've pulled Marky's, our youngest son's, I think probably the last 5 or 6 of his teeth in the office because he refuses to get them out on his own. But they get a couple bucks under their pillow and I save every one of the teeth in a weird tooth bank shrine.
sometimes tooth fairies are late though.
Yeah, she's late a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah. Same. I don't know if it's you or a different tooth fairy in my house, but oh man, even the reminders on my phone don't always work.
I have to admit, my daughter has lost 2 teeth now, and the one I'm pretty sure she swallowed. The other one got dropped somewhere, and I think maybe the dog ate it. She hasn't noticed yet that the tooth fairy never showed up. So talk real quiet so she doesn't hear me. We have a regional public radio show that has Santa and Mrs. Claus on at Christmas and kids call in. Have you ever thought about doing that with the tooth fairy? I was kidding when I thought about it, but now if my kid could talk to the tooth fairy, I bet she'd explode with excitement because she loves the dentist.
Great idea. Yeah, that's such a good idea. I would love to do that.
Arlene, we should do a special episode.
Then you can then you can remind them to take care of the teeth that are still in their mouths.
Bring me back. I'll get the suit. I'll dress up and we'll take kids' questions. That would be hilarious. I'm not even kidding.
This would be an awesome idea.
Yeah,
perfect. It would be so fun. Oh, I love it.
That would be very cute. All right, Ben, you're back in.
Sorry.
No more tooth questions. So since we're both a parenting and ag podcast, we're always interested in how families are incorporating the farm and family life together. Now, you already said that your kids hate it some of the time, but what is one of your biggest joys when it comes to raising kids around livestock and on the farm?
My biggest joy is just teaching the boys. There's a lot of kids out there nowadays that just don't understand. They don't go out and do the things that we do. I'll take my oldest son out and we'll go bust firewood and stuff like that. And it's just, There's a lot of kids don't even know anything about that kind of stuff. Or some of them don't even know how they get heat in their homes. And I'll go out there and I'll tear down a truck. I'll try to teach the boys about oil changes and working on them and what this does and that does, and hopefully give them some kind of idea later on in life. Dad told me this, Dad told me that. So that's the kind of stuff that our country needs. And I think everybody needs to teach your kids that kind of thing anymore.
I'll tell you, just from this past summer, one of the biggest joys when you bring that word up, joy in farming, was seeing them out there picking up the potatoes and look at this one. Who can find the biggest one or who can find the silliest one? Loading them all back on the truck and just getting on the back of the truck and just being so proud of the potatoes and seeing them out there get the harvest. And that's really rewarding, I think.
Just on the back of the farm truck, they enjoy that, just riding.
Yeah.
Just being country kids. That's what it's about, in my opinion. That's what I enjoy the most.
Yeah. One of my kids, the last few parties, one of the things he's requested and his friends look forward to, we did wagon rides when they were littler. And then the last couple years, my husband will just put them all in the back of the pickup and run them around the field a few times, like the biggest attraction. Okay. Country birthday parties.
So I got an old flatbed truck and we put a bunch of potatoes in the sacks and we were hauling them to the barn, and it's probably about 500-600 yards away. And those boys wouldn't ride in the truck. They all had to jump up on the sacks and the old flatbed. And we were just cruising up through the meadow nice and easy, and they were just loving life, just having a good time. Playing in the creeks down at the other farm. They love that
yeah,
stuff.
I love watching them look for crawdads and crawdad hunt. Last summer they wanted to get enough to do a boil and eat them, and I was like, okay.
Whatever,
we never got around to it. I don't know why. I don't think they ever got enough to amount for much, but yeah, I think next summer will probably be the same thing. We're gonna have to have a crawdad boil.
Let them experiment.
Yeah, see how many it takes to fill them up.
I just totally lost track where we were. What are some of the things you're struggling with your kids on the farm at this?
Chores.
Yeah, I think this is probably every parent in America today. Is the kids, their priorities are
video games.
They want to be watching their YouTubers, or they want to be plugged in playing a game. And we don't have television here. We have TVs, but we don't have, what is that, like a satellite?
We have like Netflix.
Yeah, we have Netflix and that's it. And they do have tablets, but we really try to limit it to a very short window when they're here. And I think that's our biggest struggle is they'll make, I don't like to use the word slave, but they'll make the comment, you treat us like slaves. Like, no, we're trying to teach you all. The free labor is great. Thank you. But we're trying to teach you all what's important in life, and running up there and having your brains sucked out by whatever you're doing on the internet.
Something that's fake and versus something that's real.
Like one of our boys would be like, oh, I killed something on this hunting game, or I caught this, and Ben will be like, let's do that in real life, because that's not the same.
Yeah, I hear you. All the screens. So we ask this question sometimes of people because I think it helps us to reflect on the ages and the stage that we're in the present moment. So one of the questions we like to ask is what is your favorite thing about the ages that your kids are at right now?
I'm nervous on my oldest son. He's 15 and he's getting ready to start driving. It's fun for me because I'm hoping he'll be a good driver and be able to, like say, just go get something for me or that. I think that'll be fun. Same time, I'm also scared to death.
From kids, though, I feel like I'm not too worried about them driving. All of them are already driving on the side-by-sides, and like we've got a go-kart for them. So I feel like that I'm not too concerned about the oldest driving. I'm really not. He did almost kill us once on the side-by-side, but I think
that was partially my fault, though.
Yeah, I mean, we were on a gravel hill. I'm talking steep incline, and he said, Braden, why don't you hop in and drive? And I said, oh, honey, this probably isn't the best spot.
It was good. We
get to the fork in the road where we have to go right or left, and he doesn't know which way we're going. He's never driven this road. And Ben's, go left. We end up going into
sideways,
almost flipped. God was looking out for us that day, that's for sure. But those boys will never forget that. I don't think they talk about that story every time we ride that trail.
Yeah, every time we're on there. That's where we about died.
Gosh. But I think for me,
It is nerve-wracking. I've got a 16-year-old, and there is something different about, like, she's driven a tractor and her side by side and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, being beside them, especially while you're in town, or you realize the things that maybe you think that they pick up when you're driving, and maybe they're not paying as much attention. That was a stop sign. Did you
The whole new word.
did you see that? Those.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, but I do think that
Right.
farm kids definitely have an advantage because they've at least been behind the
That's
wheel.
my
a
dad.
bit
Whenever
more
I was
than
young
some
and
of
growing up,
the city kids.
I cut my teeth on an old 4-speed E2 Ford truck. I mean, he used to let me drive in back roads, and that's how I learned how to shift the standard transmission and stuff like that. Even backing and driving a trailer and stuff. I mean, my dad taught me all that just by when I was young, 15 years old. I could back a trailer and all that into a garage if I wanted to. That's good to know that, and I
Yeah,
try to
I'm in
incorporate
my
that in our
40s and I
kids as
still
well.
can't do that.
I know I said one thing, my husband and I already talked about the fact that he's going to teach him to drive because I do not have the personality to not give them a complex about it. But I
That's me.
realized to teach him to drive on the interstate, it's going to take an hour and some of driving just to find an interstate for them to drive on. But I said, I think that's one thing that country kids miss out on is they don't get experience on anything that's more than maybe 4 lanes with counting both directions. So we ask all of our guests, if you were going to dominate a category at the county fair, what would it be? And categories can be real or made up to ensure that you win. And you guys can each have your own category. You don't need to.
Yeah, so we actually won a blue ribbon at a county fair at our molasses fair
I should have
festival.
won. Tell me what I should have run the blue
I-
ribbon
We won a ribbon, first place on one of our sweet potatoes. It was a huge sweet
for. It
potato.
was like 6.5 pound sweet potato I grew.
Yeah, we named it Wilson, like
Whoa.
the volleyball Wilson from
It was
that
as
movie.
big as a football. It was huge.
It was humongous, and Ben's dad drove around with this thing everywhere. He took that thing everywhere with him and showed it to the
Proud
guys.
account.
It was
Yeah.
his favorite
So that's why we
grandchild for a
named it
while.
Wilson, because he'd hold it out the window at the hardware store and at the like showing everybody, look at this sweet potato. So we won blue ribbon for that. But Ben makes the best sweet potato pie I've ever had in my life. So I think he should win that. And of course maybe something goat related, like cutest goat in the county.
Can we get a
Definitely.
picture of the sweet potato for our
Yeah.
Oh,
social
I
media?
have it. I actually have one on
Yeah.
Instagram where I'm like
yeah.
office for a checkup too, and I was like fake suctioning as a
Oh,
little.
cute.
Look on California raisin.
It was
In all fairness, 6.5 pounds is a baby's. You just swaddle that bad boy up.
yeah.
It was huge.
Now, did Wilson get turned into a pie
couldn't
or
believe how
something
big it
else?
No, Ben cut it, and what did you do? You ended up
I
throwing.
actually made some slips off of it
Yeah.
for this year for my garden, but the deer wreaked
good
havoc
idea.
on them.
Yeah, we got some little pitiful baby Wilsons.
yeah.
I was trying to decide if you could taxidermy a sweet potato,
Yeah.
but I don't think it'd work. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So I guess we will move. Actually, you know what? I'm going to loop back. So you just talked about the favorite thing about your oldest. I don't want to leave any kids out. What about the
Well,
other two?
Right
What's your
now,
favorite thing about the
Marky and
ages they're
Avery,
at right
they're
now?
10 and 11, so they're super
They're both
close.
in a musician, or they're both.
One's playing,
instruments.
yeah, they're into
Avery's
guitar
in
and piano.
guitar and Marky's in the piano.
Still have little jam sessions. That's cute. But my absolute favorite thing that they're doing right now is they want to do survival missions, which we already are survivors, I feel. But they want to go out there and set up a tent and make their own fire, and they want hatchets and their knives, and they want to go out there and just handle it themselves all night
They
long.
do really good up until dark.
Yeah.
I think we want to go back inside. A little too dark for our life.
Yeah. Is that
Yeah.
a deer or something else?
That's kids.
Yeah, but I'm enjoying that right now with them because they're still real loving and sweet to me, but they're also super adventurous and playful. So I'm going to miss that.
I think a lot of times
Yeah,
the biggest
that's
part
fun.
of self-sufficiency is knowing when to ask for help and knowing your limits. So it's a
Yeah.
good thing to teach them. Depend on your community.
There you go. And
Yeah.
make
Right,
sure the
and
tent's
it's
not
never too far.
from home. Yeah. So I guess we'll move into our cussing and discussing segment. If listeners want to send in their own cussing and discussing entries, they can call or leave a message on our SpeakPipe website. Go to speakpipe.com/barnyard language and you can leave us a voice memo and we'll play it on the show. Or you can always send us an email and then we will read it out for you. Katie, what are you cussing and discussing this week?
I have no idea, Arlene. Do you want to loop back around to me? I just ran out. I don't know.
Okay, I will start then.
I'm done.
You ran out. So mine was, I can't remember if I've done this one before, but we're into our second season, so it's possible, but this is the right episode for it. So I'm going to say that kids have so many teeth, and I have 4 kids. So if you start the tooth fairy thing, it just goes on forever. And like you said, Ariel, sometimes you forget, or we've actually started, like, the tooth just gets left in the kitchen now rather than the bedroom, because it's like you have to stay up late enough to make sure that they're asleep, or we go out and milk early, but then I don't always remember to sneak in there before they wake up in the morning. So it's okay, now the tooth just gets left on the kitchen counter, and I still have to try and remember to actually do the tooth fairy thing. So yeah, it's just the quantity of teeth, and starting a tradition like the tooth fairy means that you have to continue it with many children. Yeah.
So with that, if you forget, you just tell them. Say, it's kind of like with Santa. We told the kids, they already know we work with Santa. We're Santa's helpers. And mommy gets busy. We got to milk and we stay up late. And you just tell them, say, the tooth fairy will get here. I'll help her out when I can. I actually know the tooth fairy. She lives in West Virginia. We're going to call her next week.
Yeah, she had a busy night. They're kidding. They got goats. Just give her.
You just write down all your
I'm
questions
sure
for her. We're gonna give her a call, Katie, in a couple weeks, and we'll see what she says.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll check in. Yeah. Do you guys have anything you want to cuss or discuss? And this can be anything.
I could cuss all night about worrying about winter. Probably that's been real stressful for us. Yeah, for me, because I'm the one who stresses. Ben lays down and he goes to bed like a baby. I lay here and I'm like, oh, our dog's barking, or oh, I heard somebody upstairs and the feet going. And then at night I'll be laying here worrying, are the ducks up, or are the goats okay, or do I hear coyotes? So in the wintertime I get extra stressed. Is everybody warm enough? Do they have enough? Have they ate enough? Is the water okay? And Ben,
I said it'll all be all right.
Goes right to
The only
bed.
thing I'm worried about right now is deer season, so I'm sitting here all fretting around about
Oh
deer
yeah,
season.
he's in rut. Ben's in rut right now.
How many deer did you say took out your vegetable patch? How many tags do you get?
I don't worry about tags.
As long as you're eating them, we don't care.
That's right.
Yeah.
But
I did.
Katie,
and
you
it's
thought of
even
something.
tooth related.
All right.
I had
there you go.
no idea how long it takes a tooth to go from starting to be wiggly to actually falling out. And I had no idea how horrified, grossed out, and stressed out I would be through that entire time.
Watching that dangle on the last piece of skin. Oh,
Yeah.
it's the worst.
And just every day I have to check my kid's mouth to see if her tooth fell out, because she's not bothered by it at all, and she won't mention it. She's just, I'll go to brush her teeth and be like, hey, there's a tooth missing. And she's like, oh, yeah, whatever. It just, I don't know why. It just, blah.
Yeah, so I have a confession with one of ours. He had a real wiggly one on the bottom, the first one to go, and I got excited because it's his first one, and I'm like, I want to be here when this happens. So I'm like, it's wiggly enough. Let's just put a little topical jelly on it, the mom got from the office, and let's get it out of there. So it was probably a little too soon. I could have probably let him wait a little while, but I got excited to get that first one out of there, and he did fine. But yeah, so I get excited, and now he gets to the point, I think I'm the problem, where he wants me to take him out now for him. He doesn't even want to wiggle him out. But we only have 2 left.
Yeah.
Yeah, he only has 2 baby teeth left now, and I think I might need a week-long sabbatical and lots of tissues for when he loses the last one.
I read a really creepy mystery novel a couple years ago that involved tooth collecting. So I will send you the title. You can read that and really get through the whole process. Anyway, yeah,
that sounds creepy.
I read it several years ago, and I'm still thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you both for joining us tonight. If people want to find you online and see pictures of Wilson and your lovely goats, where should
So
they look you up?
we are on Instagram at dental_goat. We do have a website that's under construction. It's www.toothacres.com, or I think it's toothacresfarm.com. Okay. I think that's what it, toothacresfarm.com. I
There's
don't
probably
think
not
so.
too
And
many
then
Tooth
we are going to launch
Yeah,
a Tooth
people can
Acres
Google it.
Farm Instagram for more of our products that we're making. We didn't talk a whole lot about that, but Ben and I are working on selling a few farm-made products and that, starting small, as you can imagine, because we work a lot. But our 10-year plan is to hopefully do a little bit more of a side of what our side gig business is and work less. Dental Goat, find us Tooth Acres Farm, West Virginia, and connect with us. We love that.
That would be great. What kind of stuff are
Well,
you starting?
actually
I'm
make
curious.
tooth powder, kind of controversial in the dental world, but instead of toothpaste, it's a powder, and it's doesn't have a fluoride in it, but it has minerals and other natural ingredients that are really kind to the oral environment. We still use some toothpaste in our home, but the kids like tooth powder. We like tooth powder as like an in-between alternative. We also have a Dirty Goat farm hand soap with it's a shungite goat milk soap. So
I made that right now.
yeah, he has really rough hands, and I'm sure you guys know with your husbands and yourselves that our hands take a beating. So I don't make a lot of soaps, but I make one, then the Dirty Goat farm hand soap. We've played around with some breath spray and some face wash, and I make a sweet mint lip repair lip balm. Ben, he wants to sell some honey eventually, and he makes some woodworking products. I don't know if you could see behind us those honeycomb shaped little stands there beside. Ben made those for me. He's a
Yeah.
wonderful crafter. But selling things online is tough. As I don't know if you all do any of that, but with shipping, especially today, it's tough. So we want to get to the point where we can go to more shows. We also like to make onion powder, like from our farm, onion powder. We do a ramp salts. We love ramps. I don't know if that's in your area, but
Love ramps.
ramp salt, dehydrated ramps, onion powder, things, just small seasoning things too.
Yeah, very cool. And I thought Katie was going to say it earlier, but when I first was communicating with you guys, she thought you were a dentist for goats. So she was a little disappointed when she learned that you were
I
a human
actually
dentist.
had a bit of a flashback when I thought you were a dentist for goats. I interned with a goat dairy and cheese making operation and got bitten by a goat one time, collecting cud to bolus a goat that had been sick and had been treated with antibiotics because the cud is full of good healthy bacteria and that. And so I stuck my finger in her mouth to collect it and found out exactly how sharp a goat's back molars are. And it turns out that if you eat grass all day and spend the rest of your time grinding your teeth because you're evil, your teeth get real damn sharp. And I've been bitten by dogs. It wasn't as bad as getting bitten by that goat. And she wasn't even trying. Yeah. 2 thumbs down on that.
That would be a whole different
Really
career
would be.
path. Yeah. Thank you both so much for joining us. It was great to meet you, and we're excited to talk to the tooth fairy.
You want to do that, reach out. I'd have a blast.
I think we should. It'd be a good time.
Yeah, those kids are going to be asking you about the money and how's come it never come.
I'll have great answers. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's right. Why did my friend get $5? I only got one.
I'll have good answers.
It turns out if you brush your teeth better and keep your teeth in better shape, the tooth fairy brings you more money.
Yeah.
All the money your parents save not getting your teeth filled.
That's right.
There you go.
Thank you, ladies, so much. We had a great time. We really appreciate you. We loved being a part of this, and we can't wait to listen back and hopefully not feel ridiculous.
We haven't had anybody complain about it yet, about their own episodes.
Okay, I was like, oh.
Nobody's complained about your episode yet either. So
Right.
we're doing good.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Arlene.
All right. Yeah, you're good, Katie? Cool.
Thank you for joining us today on Barnyard Language. If you enjoy the show, we encourage you to support us by becoming a patron. Go to www.patreon.com/barnyard language to make a small monthly donation to help cover the costs of making the show.
Please rate and review the podcast and follow the show so you never miss an episode.
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as Barnyard Language, and on Twitter, we are Barnyard Pod. If you'd like to connect with other farming families, you can join our private Barnyard Language Facebook group.
We're always in search of future guests for the podcast. If you or someone you know would like to chat with us, get in touch. We are a proud member of the Positively Farming Media Podcast Network.